You think you know everything about Everybody Loves Raymond. The laughs, the family drama, the iconic living room where millions of viewers spent 9 unforgettable seasons. But what if I told you that behind every perfectly timed joke, behind every exasperated eye roll from Debra Barone, there was a secret so massive that it required an entire production team to conspire in hiding it? What if the woman who made you laugh until your sides hurt was simultaneously performing one of the greatest magic tricks in television history, right before your eyes, and you never even noticed? Patricia Heaton wasn't just acting on the set of Everybody Loves Raymond. She was concealing something profound, something that would change everything about how we watch those episodes today. This isn't a story about scandal or controversy. This is a story about dedication, sacrifice, and the extraordinary lengths one woman went to protect her career, her family, and the show that millions of people depended on for their weekly dose of laughter. And here's the shocking part: she did it not once, but multiple times. Stick with me, because by the end of this story, you'll never watch Everybody Loves Raymond the same way again. Let's rewind to 1996. Patricia Heaton was a struggling actress in her late 30s, watching her dreams slip away with each passing year. Hollywood has an expiration date for women, especially in comedy, and Patricia was painfully aware that time was running out. She'd spent over a decade in New York, studying with renowned drama teacher William Esper, performing in off-Broadway productions, taking small television roles that paid the bills but never opened the big doors. She'd even made her Broadway debut in a gospel musical called Don't Get God Started, but God wasn't starting her career in any meaningful way. She was talented, she was trained, she was ready, but so were thousands of other actresses in Los Angeles and New York. Then came the audition that would change everything. CBS was casting a new sitcom built around stand-up comedian Ray Romano, a show about a sports writer living across the street from his overbearing parents. It was called Everybody Loves Raymond, and the role of Debra, Ray's wife, was proving impossible to cast. They'd seen over 200 actresses. 200 women had walked through that door, read the lines, tried to find the chemistry with Romano that would make audiences believe in this marriage. But something was missing every single time. Patricia Heaton walked into that audition room carrying the weight of a decade's worth of rejection, heartbreak, and crushed dreams. She knew this might be her last real shot. She was 38 years old, an age when Hollywood starts writing women out of leading roles, when too old becomes the unofficial response to every audition. But Patricia Heaton had one thing that 200 other actresses didn't have: desperation mixed with brilliance, and the courage to take a risk that no one else would dare. The script called for Debra to kiss her husband in the scene. Every single actress before Patricia had awkwardly mimed the kiss, maybe pecked Romano on the cheek, or simply skipped over that stage direction entirely. After all, this was just an audition. You don't actually kiss the lead actor during a reading, right? Wrong. Patricia Heaton leaned in and actually kissed Ray Romano. Not a stage kiss, not a pretend moment, an actual kiss that shocked everyone in the room and demonstrated instant chemistry that cannot be faked or manufactured. Ray Romano later admitted that Patricia won the role specifically because she was the only actress willing to take that risk. Creator Phil Rosenthal saw it too: the authenticity, the commitment, the willingness to fully inhabit the character even in an audition room. Patricia Heaton had just secured the role that would define her career, win her 2 Emmy Awards, and make her a household name. She had no idea that this role would also require her to become a master of deception. The show premiered in September 1996 to modest ratings, but word of mouth spread quickly. This wasn't just another family sitcom with canned laughter and predictable jokes. This was something real, something that captured the actual frustration and love of marriage, the complicated dance between parents and adult children, the way families can drive you absolutely insane while also being the most important thing in your life. Patricia's portrayal of Debra Barone was revelatory. She wasn't just the wife who delivered punchlines, she was a fully realized character with her own frustrations, desires, and breaking points. But here's what nobody knew: Patricia Heaton was pregnant during the filming of the first season. Not just a little bit pregnant, significantly pregnant. And she couldn't tell anyone. Well, she told the producers, of course, because at some point baggy sweaters can only do so much. But the audience couldn't know. The character of Debra Barone wasn't pregnant in season 1, which meant Patricia Heaton had to hide her growing belly episode after episode, week after week, as her body transformed in ways she couldn't control. Think about what that means for a moment. You're an actress who just landed the role of a lifetime after years of struggle. Your career is finally taking off. And now you're pregnant, which in the cruel mathematics of Hollywood often equals liability. Shows have been cancelled over less. Actresses have been replaced mid-season. Patricia knew the stakes. This wasn't just about her, there was an entire cast and crew depending on this show's success. So she did what she had to do. She became invisible in plain sight. The costume designers became her co-conspirators. They started dressing her in oversized shirts, bulky sweaters, and loose-fitting clothing that wouldn't look out of place on a suburban mom but served the dual purpose of concealing what was happening underneath. The directors adjusted camera angles, shooting Patricia primarily from the chest up or positioning her behind furniture, kitchen counters, dining room tables, strategically placed laundry baskets. Watch those early episodes now and you'll see it. Debra is constantly holding something in front of her body, constantly sitting down, constantly positioned in ways that seem natural but were actually carefully choreographed acts of concealment. The physical comedy that Patricia Heaton became famous for during Everybody Loves Raymond took on an entirely new dimension when you realize she was performing many of those scenes while pregnant. The exasperated sighs, the dramatic reactions, the physical timing that made every moment feel real, she was doing all of it while her body was going through one of the most profound transformations a woman can experience. And she made it look effortless. She gave birth to her second son between seasons, during the summer hiatus. The timing was tight, too tight, really. New mothers are supposed to rest, recover, bond with their babies. Patricia Heaton went back to work. Because the show must go on, because this was her shot, because 200 other actresses would gladly take her place if she couldn't handle it. So she handled it. She showed up on set, delivered her lines flawlessly, hit her marks, made millions of people laugh, and nobody watching at home had any clue what she'd just been through. But that was only the beginning of the story. Because what Patricia Heaton pulled off in Season 1 was just the rehearsal for what was coming in Season 3. The show was now a certified hit. Everybody Loves Raymond had found its audience, and that audience was growing every week. The critical acclaim was pouring in. Emmy nominations started arriving. CBS moved the show to a better time slot, a vote of confidence that meant expectations were higher than ever. And right in the middle of this success, as the writers were planning out Season 3, Patricia Heaton discovered she was pregnant again. With her fourth son. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting. The first time, she was an unknown actress grateful to have a job. The second time, she was the female lead of a hit sitcom, negotiating from a position of strength but also navigating the intense pressure that comes with success. The question facing the producers was simple. Do we write the pregnancy into the show, or do we hide it again? Writing pregnancies into sitcoms is always risky. Sometimes it works beautifully. Think about I Love Lucy breaking new ground by showing Lucy Ricardo's pregnancy, or Friends incorporating Phoebe's surrogacy storyline. But sometimes it derails the entire show, throwing off the carefully calibrated dynamics that audiences tune in to watch. Everybody Loves Raymond wasn't about babies and diapers. It was about the eternal conflicts between Ray and Debra, between Ray and his parents, between independence and family obligation. Adding a pregnancy storyline would shift everything. So they made the decision, hide it again. And this time, it would be much harder. Season 3 pregnancies are different from Season 1 pregnancies. By Season 3, the cameras know your body intimately. The audience has memorized your silhouette, your posture, your physical presence. Any change registers immediately, even if viewers can't consciously articulate what's different. Plus, Patricia was further along this time during filming, and there's only so much you can do with strategic costuming when you're in your second and third trimester. The production team got creative. Really creative. They built Debra's character around props and positioning in ways that seem obvious once you know the secret but were invisible to viewers at the time. Suddenly, Debra Barone was always carrying large objects, enormous telephone books, stacks of laundry, oversized purses that she clutched to her midsection. She stood behind kitchen islands for entire scenes. She sat at tables with her body angled away from the camera. Directors framed shots that kept her in the background or used other actors' bodies to block the view of her torso. In one particularly clever episode from Season 3, Patricia is filmed almost entirely from the shoulders up, engaged in conversations where the camera stays locked on her face. It's actually beautiful cinematography when you watch it from a technical perspective, intimate, focused, emotionally resonant. And it's also a pregnancy cover-up operation disguised as artistic choice. That's the genius of it. Nothing looked wrong or forced because everyone involved was at the top of their game, finding creative solutions that served both the story and the secret. But the most remarkable part wasn't the visual tricks or the costume wizardry. It was Patricia Heaton's performance itself. She was performing comedy at the highest level while experiencing morning sickness, fatigue, hormonal changes, physical discomfort, and all the other challenges that come with pregnancy. Comedy is timing, and timing requires absolute precision and focus. You can't be a split second off or the joke dies. Patricia Heaton never missed a beat. She delivered every line with perfect timing, every reaction with complete authenticity, every physical moment with total commitment. Watching those season 3 episodes now, knowing what she was going through, her performance becomes even more astonishing. There's a particular episode, Robert's Date, that's become legendary among fans who know the secret. Patricia appears in only a few scenes, shot specifically from the chest up, wearing baggy clothing even by Debra Barone standards. The production notes from that episode reveal that Patricia was in her 3rd trimester, days away from delivery. They minimized her screen time, shot around her, and still managed to make the episode work without audience members wondering why Debra was barely present. That's not just good producing, that's magic. She gave birth to her 4th son, Daniel, and returned to work almost immediately. Again, there was no extended maternity leave, no gradual reentry to the schedule. The show's production calendar doesn't bend for biology. So Patricia Heaton bent herself instead, showing up on set when most women would still be recovering, still be adjusting to life with a newborn, still be trying to remember what sleep feels like. And here's the thing that needs to be said clearly: this isn't a story about being a martyr or sacrificing health for career. This is a story about the impossible choices that women in entertainment have to make, choices that their male counterparts rarely if ever face. Romano never had to worry about his body betraying his employment prospects. Brad Garrett could show up to set in any condition and nobody questioned his commitment. But Patricia Heaton had to plan her pregnancies around production schedules, had to physically alter her appearance to meet the demands of a character, had to bounce back from childbirth in timeframes that wouldn't disrupt the machinery of television production. The silence around her pregnancies wasn't just about maintaining the illusion of the show. It was about maintaining her viability as a leading lady. Because Hollywood has a long, ugly history of treating pregnant actresses as problems to be solved rather than professionals navigating a natural life event. Even in the late 1990s and early 2000s, when Everybody Loves Raymond was at its peak, the industry hadn't fully evolved past the notion that pregnant women were somehow less bankable, less reliable, less worthy of leading roles. Patricia Heaton never complained publicly about any of this during the show's run. She showed up, did the work, raised 4 sons with her husband David Hunt, whom she married in 1990, and built a family while simultaneously building one of the most successful sitcom careers in television history. She made it look easy, which is perhaps the most deceptive part of the entire story. Nothing about what she accomplished was easy. It was extraordinarily difficult, requiring physical stamina, emotional resilience, professional dedication, and personal sacrifice that most of us can barely comprehend. The show itself became a cultural phenomenon. Everybody Loves Raymond ran for 9 seasons, from 1996 to 2005, producing 210 episodes that have been rerun constantly for nearly 2 decades. The show was nominated for 69 Emmy Awards and won 15, including 2 for Patricia Heaton as Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series. She won those Emmys in 2000-2001, right after the seasons where she'd been hiding her pregnancies, proving that not only had she maintained the quality of her performance, she'd elevated it to award-winning levels. But the Emmy Awards don't tell the full story. Critics can recognize great acting, but they can't measure the courage it took to deliver that acting under conditions that would have broken lesser performers. Patricia Heaton performed at an elite level while navigating pregnancy twice during the series, while raising 4 sons, while managing the intense schedule of a network sitcom that filmed in front of a live studio audience every week. Live studio audiences mean there are no second chances, no extensive editing to fix mistakes. You get it right the first time or everyone watching knows you messed up. The genius of Patricia Heaton's performance as Debra Barone is that she made the character feel so real, so lived in, so authentic that audiences invited her into their homes every week for 9 years. Debra wasn't a cartoon or a stereotype. She was a real woman dealing with real frustrations, a meddling mother-in-law, a husband who loved her but didn't always understand her, children who needed constant attention, a life that never quite looked like the dream she'd imagined. Patricia brought depth, humor, exasperation, love, and humanity to every single episode. And she did it while carrying secrets that the audience never suspected. After Everybody Loves Raymond ended in 2005, Patricia Heaton could have retired comfortably. She'd achieved everything an actress could hope for: critical acclaim, commercial success, financial security, and legacy. But she kept working, proving that her talent extended far beyond one role. She starred in The Middle, another successful sitcom that ran for 9 seasons from 2009 to 2018, playing Frankie Heck, a working-class mother trying to raise 3 kids in Middle America. Once again, Patricia brought authenticity and heart to a character that could have been one-dimensional in less capable hands. The Middle was a different kind of show, less broad, more grounded, focused on the economic struggles that many American families face. Patricia's performance as Frankie was quieter than Debra but no less effective, showing her range as an actress and her ability to anchor two different successful sitcoms across two different decades. That's rare in television. Most actors get one hit show if they're lucky. Patricia Heaton got two, both running for 9 seasons each, both requiring her to carry the emotional weight of the series while making it look effortless. Between and after her sitcom work, Patricia also became a producer, author, and advocate. She and her husband David Hunt created 4Boys Entertainment, named after their 4 sons, Samuel, John, Joseph, and Daniel. The production company tackles real-life issues with honesty and humor, drawing from Patricia's own experiences as a mother and actress. She's published books, hosted a cooking show on the Food Network called Patricia Heaton Parties, and used her platform to speak about faith, family, and the challenges of balancing career and motherhood. In recent years, Patricia has been remarkably open about her experiences in Hollywood, including the pressures she faced during Everybody Loves Raymond. In various interviews, she's discussed the challenges of hiding her pregnancies, though always with humor and perspective rather than bitterness. She's talked about the impossible standards placed on women in entertainment, the way actresses are expected to maintain certain physical appearances regardless of what's happening in their personal lives, and the double standards that persist even as the industry slowly evolves. When Patricia talks about those early seasons of Raymond, there's pride in her voice but also a recognition of what those years cost her. The time away from her newborn sons because production couldn't accommodate her schedule. The physical toll of performing comedy at a high level while pregnant. The constant awareness that showing any weakness or asking for special treatment might jeopardize everything she'd worked for. She's described feeling like she had to be superhuman, because anything less might be used as evidence that women can't handle the demands of leading a network sitcom. But here's what makes Patricia Heaton's story ultimately triumphant rather than tragic: she succeeded on her own terms. She kept her pregnancies private when that's what the role required, but she also raised 4 sons who she speaks about with obvious love and pride. She built a 3-decade career in an industry that tries to discard women over 40. She won Emmy Awards and critical acclaim. She made millions of people laugh. She broke ground simply by being excellent at her craft, consistently, for years, while managing responsibilities and challenges that never appeared in the credits. The concealment itself, the big secret that we've been exploring, wasn't really about deception. It was about protection. Patricia Heaton was protecting her career, yes, but she was also protecting Everybody Loves Raymond and everyone who depended on its success. She was protecting her family's privacy and her children's early lives from public scrutiny. She was protecting the character of Debra Barone, keeping Debra's storyline intact so audiences could continue enjoying the show without sudden, unexplained changes. In Hollywood, where every detail is scrutinized and judged, Patricia Heaton managed to create a space where she could be both a leading actress and a mother without one identity destroying the other. Looking back at those episodes now, knowing the full story adds a completely new dimension to Patricia Heaton's performance. When Debra Barone expresses frustration about feeling overwhelmed, it hits different knowing that Patricia herself was managing the overwhelming reality of new motherhood while filming. When Debra talks about feeling invisible or underappreciated, there's an extra layer of truth knowing that Patricia was literally making herself invisible to protect her role. The comedy remains brilliant, but it's deepened by the real-life context that was always there, hidden in plain sight. The legacy of Everybody Loves Raymond is secure. It's widely regarded as one of the greatest sitcoms of all time, a show that perfected the family comedy format and influenced countless shows that came after it. But Patricia Heaton's individual legacy extends beyond the show itself. She represents something important for women in entertainment, proof that you can navigate impossible circumstances with grace, that you can maintain excellence under pressure, that you can have both a career and a family without apologizing for either, and that sometimes the most powerful performances come from actors who are bringing their real lives and real challenges to roles in ways the audience never fully recognizes. Today, Patricia Heaton is 67 years old, though you'd never know it from looking at her. She remains active in the entertainment industry, recently appearing in the Frasier reboot and participating in the Everybody Loves Raymond 30th Anniversary reunion special that aired in 2025. Her sons are all grown. Samuel is 31, John is 29, Joseph is 27, and Daniel is 25. She and David Hunt are still married after 34 years, a rarity in Hollywood where marriages often crumble under the pressure of fame and demanding schedules. In the reunion special, Patricia and Ray Romano sit together reminiscing about the show, and there's genuine affection between them that goes beyond acting. They built something together that lasted, something that brought joy to millions of people and created opportunities for everyone involved. The chemistry that started with that audition kiss never faded. If anything, it deepened over 9 seasons into something real, not romance, but the kind of partnership that comes from shared experiences, shared challenges, and mutual respect earned over years of showing up and doing the work. When Patricia talks about her career now, she often emphasizes gratitude. Gratitude for the opportunities she received, for the talented people she worked with, for the audiences who embraced her characters. But she also doesn't shy away from acknowledging how hard it was, how many sacrifices were required, how the industry needs to continue evolving to better support working mothers and women at every stage of their careers. The story of what Patricia Heaton kept concealed during Everybody Loves Raymond isn't just Hollywood gossip or behind-the-scenes trivia. It's a window into the reality of being a woman in entertainment, the invisible labor that goes into creating the art we consume, and the extraordinary resilience required to succeed in an industry that wasn't designed with women's lives in mind. Patricia performed a magic trick, yes, but the real magic wasn't hiding her pregnancies. It was continuing to deliver world-class performances while managing everything else that was happening in her life. Every time you watch an old episode of Everybody Loves Raymond now, you'll see it differently. You'll notice how Debra stands, what she's holding, how the camera frames her. You'll recognize the artistry not just in Patricia's acting but in the collaboration between costume designers, directors, cinematographers, and crew members who work together to keep the secret. And you'll appreciate the performance on a deeper level, understanding that the woman making you laugh was simultaneously navigating challenges that would overwhelm most people. The ending of this story isn't a surprise reveal or a shocking confession. Patricia Heaton has been talking about her experiences for years to anyone who asks. The ending is simply recognition of what she accomplished, what she endured, what she protected, and what she created. Recognition that the work we see on screen is only a fraction of the story, that behind every performance is a human being with a full, complex, challenging life that they somehow transform into art. Patricia Heaton kept her pregnancies concealed while filming Everybody Loves Raymond, because that's what the role required, what the industry demanded, and what she decided was necessary to build the career and life she wanted. She made those choices, lived with them, succeeded despite them, and emerged as one of the most respected actresses of her generation. The concealment was temporary, but the achievement is permanent. The secret has been revealed, but the work speaks for itself. And 30 years later, everybody still loves Raymond, and Patricia Heaton, the woman who helped make that love possible through talent, determination, and extraordinary grace under pressure that most of us will never have to imagine. That's the real story. Not just what was hidden, but what was achieved despite everything that had to be hidden. Not just the secret, but the strength it took to maintain it while also maintaining excellence in every other area of her life. Patricia Heaton didn't just act in Everybody Loves Raymond. She lived an entirely separate drama that nobody watching could see, and she did it with such skill that the illusion never cracked, the performance never wavered, and the show never suffered. That's not just impressive, that's legendary. And now that you know the full story, you'll never watch those reruns the same way again. You'll see not just Debra Barone, but Patricia Heaton, actress, mother, professional, survivor, and one of the most remarkable performers in television history, who kept the show going while quietly keeping the most natural thing in the world, pregnancy and new motherhood, concealed from millions of viewers who had no idea they were watching one of the greatest acts of professional dedication ever captured on camera.